especially because we keep putting one thing off. And
Yeah, I don't know how this one's gonna go.
All right, good evening, folks. I'm going to call this meeting to order. If you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, roll call, please.
Alderman Hoffman.
here.
Alderman Rucker.
Here.
Alderman Ross.
Here.
Alderman Morose.
Here.
Alderman Osteen. Alderman Barella. Here. Mayor Harmonson.
Here. All right, we do have a quorum. We're going to start off with the citizens' communication. This is a time set aside on the agenda for citizens and visitors to address the mayor and the board on any topic that is not a public hearing. For those here in person, speakers will be restricted to 3 minutes unless otherwise permitted. Minutes may not be donated or transferred from one speaker to another. Any questions or comments for the mayor and the board may also be sent to the city clerk at tberreth@osagebeach.org no later than 10 a.m. on the board meeting day, the first and third Thursday of each month. Submitted questions and comments may be read during the citizens' communication section of the agenda. The Board of Aldermen will not take any action on any item not listed on the agenda, nor will it respond to questions, although staff may be directed to respond at a later time. The mayor and the board welcome and value input and feedback from the public. Is there anyone here in person who would like to address the board? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Has the board had a chance to review the minutes from the Board of Aldermen meeting February 6, 2025, and the bills list from February 20, 2025? And do you have any comments or questions on those two items? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Alderman Ross. Second, Alderman Morose. All those
Yes.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. All right, financial update. We're going to move City Administrator Devin, please.
Good evening. I'm happy to report that we are 1.3% above over last year for sales tax through February, and we are 6.5% above budget. So we're currently at just shy of $1 million of sales tax through February. If anybody has any questions about that.
Anyone
You
have
can
any
always
questions?
report that.
Good to hear.
Alderman Rucker?
I said she can always report that like stuff to us.
That's all right. Thank you.
All right, if there's no questions, we're going to move on to the first item. We have two items today on unfinished business. First, we have Bill 25-05, an ordinance to the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to approve a contract with Four Seasons Plumbing, LLC for the Margaritaville Sewer Relocation Project for an amount not to exceed $67,659. This is the second reading. City Engineer Drew Bowman, please.
Board, Mayor, this project is relocating a major gravity sewer line, and it will increase the capacity of our sewer can facility there just on the property. Open it up to any questions, but I do recommend approval.
All right, board have any questions or comments? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve second reading?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Hoffman, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Barella. Roll call, please.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Hoffman.
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
Alderman Barella.
Yes.
Alderman Morose.
Yes.
Alderman Osteen.
All right, second reading passes. Next, we have Bill 25-07, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, to amend the Missouri Highway and Transportation Commission State Block Grant Agreement for Rehabilitate Runway 422 and lighting to ensuring the city amount not to exceed $3,990,000 $1,569. Again, City Engineer Andrew Bowman.
Mayor, members of the board, this is a amendment to the original block grant. The original block grant was just set up for the design phase of this project. Now this amendment obligates the funds for the construction and construction inspection portion of this project. I do recommend approval.
Drew, excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
Would you mind again, just for those at home and those here?
Yes.
I know I'm repeating, but a lot of people think that we're spending $4 million. If you don't mind addressing that, please.
So, right, so this grant from the FAA reimburses the city for 90% of our expenses for this project. So if we spend $100, we get reimbursed 90. And this is passing through the FAA, or passing from the FAA through MoDOT, and then those funds can be reimbursed to the city.
Very good, thank you. Any other questions from the board or comments? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve second reading?
Motion approved.
Alderman
So moved.
Ross. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Rose. Roll call, please.
Alderman Rose.
Yes.
Alderman Barella.
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
Alderman Hoffman.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Osteen.
All right, second reading, 2507 passes. Moving on to new business. We have Bill 2504, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Enterprise Fleet Management, Inc., under the State of Missouri Office of Administration Division of Purchasing Cooperative Contract Procurement, CC 232900501. This is the first reading. City Administrator Devin Lake, please.
Mayor, members of the board, Ken is here to answer any questions that you may have on this. I think some questions have arisen recently, so if anybody has any questions, I'm sure Ken would be happy to answer those.
And we do have a representative. You want to come on up, Ken?
Good evening, and thank you for having me again. Truly appreciate your time, and as mentioned in the last meeting, appreciate all of the staff's time and all of the effort that they put into this as we go. So certainly here to answer any questions. Did just want to cover a few core areas tonight. You know, from a role structure standpoint, again, we're local. We're here meeting with the staff on a regular basis. The goal is 4 or 5 times per year based around the budget year. So that's really one of our core areas, is meeting with the team on a regular basis and helping them prepare the budgets from an ongoing basis. The other piece that I wanted to speak to a little bit tonight was the flexibility of our program. I know the leasing model has come up, and we certainly offer the equity lease, but we're a fleet management company. We're not a leasing company. So if there's ever the appetite to self-fund for the vehicles or essentially pay cash, we do have that option available. And we also have the option to do kind of a hybrid from a leasing perspective. So that's just one of the areas that we cover, along with all the different resources that we provide, from acquisition, resale, maintenance, fuel, and really the management of all of that and working together with the team. So here to answer any questions that you have, and certainly appreciate your time.
All right, thank you much. Alderman Rucker.
The document that we have presented to us, is that written up for the lease program?
Yes, sir, it is. And the reason we structured the equity lease for the police, there's $118,000 budgeted for police, and Chief, you can speak to this as well. But in order to capitalize and get Chief the 5 vehicles that he has requested through this program is why we use the equity lease. The annual cost by for all 5 units would be $57,000, but we would only see about 6 months at the very most, because you don't start paying for the vehicles until after they're delivered. And then we have the aftermarket equipment of $20,000 per unit on the pursuit vehicles and then $4,000 on the non-pursuit unit billed out at this time, but we can customize that in any different way that we need to accommodate the budget. But at the end of the day, truly doing more with less and getting Chief the 5 vehicles that he needs instead of the 1 or 2 units that he would get if we paid cash. That said, we have the option to self-fund and pay cash for the vehicles, but we thought it would be a better structure to accommodate the 5, as that's the need at this time. But to answer your question, yes, it is the equity lease.
I don't have any question, just a comment.
Yes, sir.
I have not read this in detail because we kept pushing it, and I thought we were going to be, since we were meeting tonight, I read it in more detail, and I did find out, and I didn't understand it that way from the beginning. I thought from the beginning it was going to be written in such a way that we would, at the meeting that we chose, we would make the choice, and then we would just check the box, so to speak. I am not in favor of the lease portion of it. I'm in favor of the purchase portion. I'm in favor of the program. I've always been in favor of a program to upgrade and replace our vehicles with certain mileage and certain time frame. Whether we do it on our own, whether we do it through a company, or whichever way we do it. And at this point, at this stage, we're looking at doing it through a company. So I would not be in favor of leasing. I would be in favor of looking at a purchasing agreement program with them, and then have to see what the difference in the documentation would be, if there would be if I would still be in favor of it. But I'm not in favor of the leasing portion of it. Thank you.
So again, the reason why most of our entities leverage the equity lease model is to reduce the budget and do more with less. So the average, if we're saying that police unit is $60,000 or $70,000, well, that essentially only gets Chief 1 or 2 vehicles. So that's where the equity lease allows you to reduce the budget, do more with less, not start paying for the vehicle until after it delivers, and then just pay for the portion that you're going to utilize over X amount of years. So that's why a majority of our clients in the government space do leverage the equity lease. But if we have the funding to accommodate that budget and get Chief those 5 vehicles if needed, or the 2 vehicles, or whatever it be, we can structure it in either way, and we do provide all those resources that you mentioned of analyzing whether you're paying cash or self-funding or you're leveraging the equity lease. We're still analyzing when's the right time to get out of that specific unit, as you alluded to. So, Chief, do you have any thoughts from that perspective?
Well, currently, like you had mentioned, we're budgeted for $118,000 for 2025. That will get us 2 vehicles. If we go with the program that Ken has proposed, that gets us 4 patrol vehicles and 1 detective vehicle. In 2025, that would, with the equipment, if we actually would have to spend the full $20,000, just depending on what bids come in, for equipment per each vehicle, that puts us at $112,620. So we're still coming in underneath the allocated amount for 2025. So with that, our payments in 26, 27, and 28 would be $57,240, and in 2029, we would have the other half of what would be budgeted this year for $28,620. If we, in 26, 27, 28, if we would decide to replace another vehicle or add another vehicle to the fleet throughout those years, it would cost us an additional $12,000, $13,000 a year, depending on cost increases. So traditionally, we're spending anywhere between $118,000, $120,000 a year. We're budgeting anyway for vehicles. This seems to be the better outcome. We'll still be able to come in less than around $100,000 a year, even if we had vehicles throughout the next 4 or 5 years. It gets us the newer vehicles that we need. This one will be replacing 3 2014 models and a 17. So with over 100,000 miles on every one of those.
Well, I'm in favor and have been I think the board knows my position on vehicles and mileage and years and all that. I don't have to repeat that, but I've been in favor of a program that that removes the vehicles out at less than 100,000 and not more than 10 years, especially the police, and even need Public Works and all the vehicles, because all the vehicles that the city has are pretty well emergency vehicles. Some of them just emergency lights and sirens, and others emergency non-lights and sirens as they go, and obviously many of them service units. So I advocate a program. I'm just not sure. I'm convinced on that program. I'm not convinced that leasing is the way. I'm convinced that the way to do it is buying them, as I have tried to get done every year, buy those vehicles. And unfortunately, we've pushed that off and said, well, we'll get more miles, we'll get more years out of them. And unfortunately, I hope we haven't pushed it off to the point that we're going to have to use this program in order to get our vehicles back up to date, because that's what I was afraid of years ago. And I just hope we're not at that point now, because when I look back at just 2 days ago, and I hear those snowplows out there running, and I know those guys are out there running all night, and those vehicles are running all night, that right there just drives me stronger to push and push for vehicles with up-to-date in years and safety features, and that's not achieved unless we have something that is constantly replaced at least at 10 years or less, and less than at least 100,000 miles or less. So I just think that purchasing them is our better way to go. I haven't looked at the numbers enough for what you just presented there to see if I would be willing to back off the purchasing. I think we need to bite the bullet and purchase rather than back away.
I've talked to Chief over at Lake Ozark, Campton, as well as the Sheriff's Department. They're all using this as well, and they have nothing but praise about the enterprise option, so.
I don't have any problem with the program.
Right.
I don't have any problem with the program. I just want to purchase them. I think us purchasing on them, and then maybe I can evaluate more of what the program is costing us for them to. We were doing the program. Basically, we were doing the program 5-10 years ago, and we were doing it in-house. We were selling the vehicles ourselves in-house, and we were phasing the vehicles out. We were doing it in-house. We are a large enough operation that I believe we can dedicate somebody to do that, and our assistant city administrator did a lot of that. Okay, Michael Wells did, and so we did it, and now we've gotten away from it, and I'm just don't know if I want to put the money into their pocket. I'd rather keep the money in our pocket, but we got to have somebody to do the program and manage the program, and we got to have a board that stands behind consistently doing it. So I've spoken my piece.
And if I may add, we partner with many large entities that, for example, the state of Missouri, the unified governments, the Jackson County, Missouris, that have fleet teams and have in-house people managing the fleet, along with leveraging our program for acquisition, resale, and leveraging our resources for the purchasing, for the relationships with the manufacturers and the ongoing analysis of when to get out of that vehicle and how to sell that vehicle and how to reduce our maintenance and fuel. So all those pieces come with our program. With, I worked with Mike for many years and through conversations and whatnot. So I know he was doing a lot of that, but there's a lot of resources, even if you have a full-time staff person on hand, or you have many mechanics. We've got entities that have 25, 30 mechanics on hand. We still bring a lot of resources and help from getting out of the vehicle, in and out of the vehicles at the right time. In the analytics that we provided, the average age was 7.5 years. To your point of the fleet is aging. We have 20 vehicles that are over 10 years of age. We've got 3 vehicles that are over 20 years of age, and that was a little ways back. That could have even gone longer. From my understanding, there's 1 or 2 vehicles this year in the budget for Public Works, and then 1 or 2 vehicles for police as well. We estimated your historical average budget to be 6 vehicle acquisitions per year, so not far off. But I think to your point, the fleet is, as a whole, is around 8 years of age, and that's why a lot of our entities are leveraging this equity lease to get you back in a position to where our initial model said to replace 29 vehicles this year, which is the recommendation. And that is a large, from a budget standpoint, that's a lot of capital outlay, and that's where our program allows you that equity lease to reduce that budget, and then as the equity comes in the future, offset future years' budgets. So I think either way, down the road, we can absolutely self-fund, but I think to get you in a position, that's why a lot of our entities are leveraging the equity lease, is to go from a 10 to 15 year cycle pattern on average to a 3 to 4 year cycle pattern on average. So again, we're, from a whole standpoint, in this model, what we've requested so far was the 5 vehicles for police. Do I agree with you and think that there's could be opportunity to do more? Absolutely. But I believe if we can get this partnership in place this budget year and get Chief his minimal needs, and then really start working together and figure out, hey, should we self-fund? Should we use the equity lease? What do we have from a capital standpoint? And start tracking that from a maintenance and operational expenses, not only the capital outlay, but also the maintenance and the fuel costs, along with the potential equity that would be coming back as we sell the client-owned vehicles and the enterprise vehicles moving forward. So that's my goal, is to start a partnership. I mentioned in the last meeting to Mr. Ross, how you pay for the vehicles is completely optional, and whatever's best for the entity from a budget standpoint. My goal is to start a partnership with you all. And as I mentioned before, you can get out of this partnership at any time, but I am very confident, as in my conversations with Zach and Chief, if we can get this partnership started, I'm very confident we can grow this organically with you all.
I'm going to go ahead and just say this. I've been a little disappointed we've not had a full board any night that you've been here in order to give this what I think would be an adequate consideration. I've been in favor of this from the very beginning, and kind of historical with my life. I tend to jump in with both feet and figure it out later, but that's kind of the way we started, and we did back off a bunch just to see if they could do what they said they could do. I still believe in this program. You would not have so many other municipalities around us praising and working with these folks if it wasn't a good thing. And to your point, Alderman Rucker, I mean, every year vehicles get safer and safer, fuel mileage gets better and better. It's a pride when they drive down the road. You see City of Osage Beach, that the vehicles look nice and the patrol officers feel comfortable in there. I just think we backed off on this a bunch to see how they would perform. I think 5 vehicles is a perfect number, with the perfect department being the police department, to give this thing a go and see how it works. So that's my 2 cents worth. It's going to be a board decision with only 5 board members. We'll see what happens, but I just wanted to speak my piece in favor of this before you guys decide. So.
One last thing, I'm in favor of the program. Okay, I don't want that to be lost. I'm very much in favor of the program. I implemented it in a very smaller scale in my career as a fire chief. I only had 3 vehicles other than the fire trucks, because the fire trucks you guys they never did. But we used a program, and we did it in-house because could easily. And I'm very much in favor of the program. The funding portion of it, I'd like to see us purchase them and use the program.
Okay. Alderman Ross.
So I won't belabor the fact that I've always had concerns about this. Is probably the 3rd time we've discussed this since I've been on this board. My own personal math says I'm not convinced that the value is there. And in the end, I think that what we should strive to do is extend asset lives so we can get the best value for our citizens' tax dollars. And so one of the things has been, Enterprise has their numbers, not disputing those. I'm sure that they have, working with a lot of cities and so forth, there's validity for why we should use your program. And I've ran some of my numbers and not convinced yet that that's the best value. And so, so who's right? I don't know, okay? And so that's why the board received an email today. And just try, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to figure out how to do the right thing. Nobody wants to do the wrong thing, okay? But we're not experts at finance up here. We're not experts at car time lengths and so forth. You probably have better expertise than anything I'm going to propose about when to turn them in. And so in a conversation, in some thoughts I had over the weekend, I thought, well, we have Columbia Capital, and they are a financial advisor. and they advise us on lots of large projects historically, like the Oasis or the Outlet Mall and so forth. And I'm sure that they possibly have run across some of this before, because they work with a lot of municipalities. Whenever they were first introduced to me, I understood, some of their history. And so I called Jeff White, he's the representative for Columbia Capital, and he had some thoughts. They were in the email. But I think that his one point in the email was the best point that I could take, and that is that the question should be whether to lease or not to lease. Okay, Kevin, I agree with you. We can buy these too cheap. We should purchase these. Okay, then the question becomes, how do we manage them otherwise? All right. Whether or not we do them at 10 years or 8 years or 100,000 miles or 50,000 miles or 120, we can all work through that, and we're going to have differing opinions on that. I've been here too long to know that we're not going to have different opinions on that. But I will just say this, that if Columbia Capital assesses our fleet, and not that they assess every vehicle out there, but they take, the police cars that we use so much of, and the public works trucks that we have, the baseline, the frontline ones, not the hydrovac truck or whatever, and they come back and look at it and say, hey, the best deal you've got is Enterprise, you're not going to hear another word from me, okay? And so I think the best thing we can do to demonstrate the right value and the right approach to this is to enlist the services of Columbia Capital on this, because they've got some experience with it. A lot of their experience has apparently been trying to decide a little bit about what we're talking about here is whether you minimize some upfront costs and extend costs out over, and budgeting and planning and financing and all that stuff. And there was even one comment in there that said, sometimes it's better to borrow money because of some tax implications to purchase vehicles than it is, especially when you can purchase them cheaper, than it is to buy them outright with your own funds, which I thought was an interesting angle. And I'm generally never an advocate of borrowing money, okay? But if there's money to be made and we can get better value for the tax dollars of citizens, then I'm ears. So at this point, I can't support this at this point, but I would support, and I'm not sure how everybody wants to do this because some other people may have some opinions, but I would support tabling it and enlisting Columbia Capital to take a look at our fleet. But for clarity, I want to ask one question because it wasn't in here. How many vehicles are we currently proposing? Because it says Public Works and Police. I think I heard you just say, Mr. Mayor, 5 police vehicles. Was there Public Works vehicles on top of that? Because it mentioned that in here, but it wasn't specific.
So in the initial big picture analysis that I believe you're referring to with Columbia Capital, there was 59 total units, and we recommended replacing 29 vehicles that were over 100,000 miles or over 10 years of age, so not overly aggressive, but that is a lot of vehicles given a 59-car fleet. In the model that we put together from after you all asked us to go back to the drawing board, meet with the staff, work together as a team to figure out, based upon the current budget dollars, what the recommendation from Enterprise would be. That's where we leveled it down to 5 vehicles for police, and there were 3 for Public Works. That included the 2 that were already up for replacement that you all already approved, and the 1 additional potential growth unit that was a half-ton pickup truck.
So we're talking about 8? Is that what I think I heard? I apologize.
Yes, sir, 8 total, but we did, from Zach's perspective, we have not, I don't believe both units have been accepted, so we're happy to help and buy that vehicle out if the leasing model was the decision, so that we could get Zach that 3rd unit, or we can table those and start forecasting for 26 budget year. But the 5 for police is what we've come together as a team, and really we're requesting for round 1 to get this partnership started. The other piece with Columbia Capital, I firmly believe that you should do your due diligence. I firmly believe that you should analyze the numbers, and quite frankly, if you don't agree with my numbers or our numbers as a company at any given point in time, you're always in full control. If we say to replace that vehicle at 36 months, but you as a board decide that we need to push this vehicle out another year or 2 years or 10 years or 20 years, that is in your full control. Just because we have this vehicle on our program, you will always be in control. And boards, people change. I've been in the government space for a long time doing this. People change, thoughts change, philosophies change, and our program will change. And that's where in the first meeting I told you, do not take that analysis as this is what's going to happen. This is a proof of concept. This is a philosophy-based, high-level, big-picture analysis, and it's going to change every year. For example, the resale market is changing. We went through extremely high times over COVID over the last 5 years. Many of my clients got out at 12 or 24 months, and we did extremely well from a total cost of ownership standpoint because they received darn near more than they paid for the vehicles. Well, and resale market's trending downwards. Now government incentives are going back up, so that's offsetting the impact that the resale comes. So this model is just a starting point. The numbers that I would ask you to have Columbia Capital analyze are every single year. When we look at Chief's 5 vehicles and we're analyzing the right time to get out of that vehicle, right now, I have the pursuit vehicle set up at 48 months, and I have the non-pursuit vehicle set up at 60 months. So not extremely aggressive, a 4 or 5 year hold, but every year we're gonna analyze, should we get out of that vehicle a year sooner? Should we extend that vehicle out a year longer? And that's what I would ask you for Columbia Capital to continuously analyze and bring our recommendations to them. We will bring, in our budget preparations, a lot of times, February, March, and we'll work together to structure that, but we'll bring that budget recommendation for the following budget year to you so that you can analyze those numbers and make really good decisions. Do we pay cash? Do we use the equity lease model? Do we get out of this vehicle early? Can we do all 29 vehicles? And bring all of that to you on an ongoing basis as a partner of yours so that you can make really good decisions, because I really like the due diligence of having your financial advisor analyzing our numbers, because that's what they do. We have a lot of financial data, and we truly are in the finance business, of course, but we're also in the auto business, and that's really our core competencies. So I firmly agree with you, Mr. Ross, that I want you to analyze our data, and I want you to poke holes, and I want you to push us, and we're on the same track there. The state contract is laid out regardless, so from a pricing standpoint, that's set in stone, but how you structure these and what you do as an internal team, I think is very important, and I believe every entity does that, but I firmly agree with you with having that check. I think it's just analyzing it on a per vehicle basis and analyzing it on a moving forward basis.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. All I can say is I think that there's, a disinterested third party is the best to analyze these things. We have our interests,
Yes,
you
sir.
have your interests. Columbia Capital, even though they work for us, their job is to give us what they think is the best approach. And I would hope we would consider that, and I'd be glad to make a motion, but there may be some other people who have thoughts.
Any other comments or questions? Alderman Hoffman.
What do we think the turnaround time is for Columbia Capital to get back to us?
I didn't discuss that at all with him. All I did was ask if he had any experience around leasing programs, and you all saw the email. I think I spent 4 minutes on the phone with him.
I think it's probably better to table it than, I was just going to throw this out there. If we vote yes on this and move it forward, we can still say no on the second reading. So I think you're accomplishing the same thing, but I think we should be getting out of the police vehicles sooner. So I'm leaning towards wanting to support this, but I agree with you. I think we should know whether leasing or purchasing is better. We're probably not going to know that unless we have Columbia Capital's input. So I would prefer to table it. I hate to do this to you because you've been very patient and appreciate your time and your professionalism on this. But I think in the interest of this succeeding, tabling it is probably the best course of action tonight.
Yeah.
Alderman Morose.
Yes, thank you. I totally concur about getting with our financial advisor. It's one thing to have neighbors of ours that have already signed up and leasing, but we're a much larger city. We've got a lot bigger budget. And do we want to spend money outright, or do we want to just wait and have lesser payments each month or whatever? But I agree too, Alderman Hoffman. Let's table this and see what kind of a expedient Columbia financial advisor could help us in a much faster way where we can get some kind of numbers to know. But I'm not against it, but I just think we have a fiduciary responsibility of spending our money to our citizens, and I want to be sure we're doing the right thing. Thank you.
Alderman Barilla.
I think we could definitely use enterprise and build a relationship there. I think we do need assistance with determining when the fleet needs to be changed over and that kind of thing. I don't know that I'm sold on the leasing option versus the purchase option. And I do like using the due diligence too, for somebody else to give us that recommendation.
Do I have a form, Alderman Rucker?
Yeah, I support this. It sounds like where we want to go. The question I have before we move forward, not to stop it, but I want to move forward with it and contact them. And just two things. Number one, we need to figure out what kind of cost, because there's a cost that's going to be involved in it, and that's acceptable, and I don't have any problem with that, that there's going to be for them. But then number two, I'm struggling with what model to give them. In other words, the first thing I can think of they're going to say is, okay, what do you want us to do? You know, that's the first thing I can hear coming out of their mouth. And it's like with you, what you did is, from what I understand, is you jumped in and did the whole thing. Said, okay, we're going to do the whole program. And then after that, then it's like, okay, this is where we're at for the whole program. Then after having some discussion, regrouped and said, okay, let's take a piece of it. So I don't know which way we go with capital. If we go tell them to look at the whole fleet as it was presented, because I do believe that if we carve out just the police, that's going to be that's going to serve, or that's going to look different than if we do the whole fleet. Because the police needs, they put a lot of mileage. So they're not going to get the years. They're going to get the mileage before the years come out, where our other vehicles are going to be getting the years before they get the mileage. So I don't really have a recommendation, but I just think that's something we should consider before we just make the, or when we make the motion, what direction we give staff to give to capital. I don't know.
Alderman Hoffman.
I think we should do it with just the police. One, it's probably going to be cheaper rather than them having to go do it for the entire fleet. But if we're running a test on this, and this is going to be essentially our beta tests with the police force, then let's just have Columbia Capital do that, and then we can jump, if it comes back positive, then we can jump in, because I think that's going to move it forward faster.
I'm okay. I don't have a which way.
I
you want to
agree.
Put it out there.
All right, do I have a formal motion?
Motion to table.
Alderman Ross has a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
Second?
Alderman Hoffman is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. The bill has been tabled. Thank you so much.
Do we need to go ahead and take some action on what direction to give staff while we're on this subject?
I was about to ask Alderman, Devin, does that give you enough direction to talk to Columbia?
Let me just summarize. You want us to have Columbia Capital do an evaluation for the police department's vehicles only.
Alderman Ross.
So I would say that I think that's a place to start. I think that the first thing we need to understand is what does Columbia Capital, what kind of services can they provide? In other words, I think there's two questions here. One is, do we buy them? Do we lease them? Do we borrow money and buy them, for example? Okay, that's one piece. The second piece is what's optimum on when to replace them? Okay, some people think we should replace them at 50 or 60,000 miles in 4 years, and other people think that, well, they should be able to last 100 to 120,000 miles, and the mileage that we're doing looks like is 8 or 10 years. I don't know if they have that expertise. We should have some knowledge as far as historical costs that would help us understand that, as well as any kind of data that we could provide as around as any particular downtimes. Because there's no doubt they are emergency vehicles. And if we're running them 7, 8, 9 years and we're having significant downtime because of that, then maybe there is a better number that, because the last thing I want is officers coming to work and sitting in the break room because they don't have a vehicle to drive. Okay, that's not anywhere, but at the same time, I'd love to have them drive them as long as they can until it makes sense to get rid of them. Okay, now, you can never predict when an engine's going to go or a transmission's going to go out. I get that.
No kidding.
But at the same time, it looks like that in most cases, they'll last 8 or 10 years without any significant failures, catastrophic failures, because we're seeing that now. So I don't know what their capability is, but if they have that kind of capability for the police, then we can probably, over time, extrapolate that to other vehicles too. But I have no problem starting with the police, but we need to find out what they can and can't do.
I think the next direction we also need for Devin is any calls to, emails to, conversations to and from, investigation requests from Columbia Capital costs the taxpayers' money. So are we giving Devin an open checkbook to have them charge us whatever to do this investigation, or do you want to give her a cap, or?
I think that Devin goes to them and has a conversation with them, because I can see the conversation going like, oh, well, we can tell you, we can do the money portion and blah, 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 but we can't tell you if it's best, what mileage it is.
No, my point was, it's going to cost us just to have Columbia tell us their opinion. And any calls to Columbia Capital cost the taxpayer money. Any emails to Columbia Capital cost the taxpayer money. So any time that Columbia Capital spends on this, we're spending money on that. How much are you going to authorize her to spend on finding out whether this is good or not? Alderman Ross.
So my impression, and if I'm wrong, I need to know, is that my phone call to Jeff and asking if he had any experience with it of 5 minutes was not going to be charged to the city. Does everyone have a different impression?
I believe it was charged. I believe that they're under contract, but they're just like any other third party that we have a contract with. Whenever we contact them, then we're billed, I believe.
Okay, that is not the impression that I got, although I didn't ask that question. I just asked him if he could give me a call, okay? What I would recommend is we have an hourly rate for that contract, right? Has anyone looked at it? I'm pretty sure there's an hourly rate.
Yeah.
I would have to look it up, but I think it's attached to certain, TIFs or certain agreements on, I don't think we have a standing, right, so it's associated with.
Associated with tips and stuff like that.
Correct. There's no open contract for it.
We need to confirm that, because I'm fairly confident when we utilize Columbia Capital that we wrote a 2-year contract with them. That was the impression that I recall around the outlet mall. Now, whether or not that 2 years has expired, I was pretty sure that they were, for lack of a better, and I don't want to call it retainer, but on an as-built, as-used basis for 2 years. So I thought there is a contract involved there. I could be wrong, though.
Yeah.
Is that the way you understood it,
I
Kevin?
understand we have a contract.
I believe we do have a contract, but I also think it's just, as a retainer, they're going to bill us per contact.
For time, I get
Per
that.
contact, yeah.
And so to answer your question, I guess what I would say is I don't know what professional services budgets we have, but as long as it's within your purchasing authority and you feel like that it's prudent, then I would trust you with that. But I don't know that I'm prepared to give a number, but I can't imagine trying to find out what they can do for us and can't do for us would cost more than $500 or $1,000. But I don't know, because I don't know the contract number off the top of my head.
All right, well, I'm guessing you can clarify that and then.
I will look up the contract and figure that part out.
Can we not just get a quote from them, or
What's that?
can we not get a quote from them? And
Yes, I
then-
could get a quote.
then, I mean, I would just trust Devin to where if she thinks that it's a no-brainer, go do it. But if they come back with $1 million, maybe give us an email.
Right.
All right. Very good. Any other comments or questions on this one? All right, thank you again thank you. All right, next we're going to move on to Resolution 2025-03, resolution of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, stating facts and reasons for the necessity to amend an increase in budget expenditures for the fiscal year 2025 for the purchase and installation of replacement HVAC components. Building official Ron White, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. At the last board meeting, I reported to the members of the board that we had made an emergency purchase. This resolution is to put that into a formal document stating the reasons why. And I'll just read off of the blue sheet. During our bout with extreme cold in January, the heat exchangers in both City Hall boilers cracked, resulting in a failed central heating system. We contacted 6 different mechanical service companies, and 3 of them visited the site and provided bids for the repair and replacement of the boilers. Following the emergency purchasing policy, Mayor Harmison, City Administrator Devin Lake, and I decided the best option was the combination of services provided by the low bidder, Gold Mechanical. The attached explanation and bids are within the packet. The project was awarded to Gold Mechanical on January 28th, 2025, to replace one boiler now and one heat exchanger when received. Additionally, the water in the loop must be filtered. The water is very dirty, and due to the failure of the boiler, possibly burnt up the glycol and the inhibitor. We will have to test for those two components and potentially adjust the chemicals therein. The estimated total for this work is $54,348. That is worst case scenario. It will be reduced if we don't have to add any glycol or inhibitor. If this amendment is approved, the amended budget amount for 1009-742-203 HVAC system maintenance will be $79,348.93 for the year. The original budgeted amount for HVAC maintenance was $25,000. So this will leave money in there for additional maintenance, but it will adjust the budgeted amount to cover these expenses. We don't have, obviously, in my department, the funds necessary to take care of this, so the unplanned expense will come from anticipated savings in the General Fund 10. I do recommend approval.
All right, comments or questions for Ron? Alderman
Motion
Rucker.
to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Hoffman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, resolution is passed. Thank you, Ron.
Yes, sir.
Why don't you do one more? 2506, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending ordinance number 23.90, adopting the 2024 annual budget, transfer of funds for necessary expenditures for the replacement of the HVAC system, maintenance for components. First reading again. Ron White, please.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, members of the board, now that you've approved my rationale for making the emergency purchase, this is to do the budget amendment necessary to follow through with it. I have no additional comments and do recommend approval of this ordinance.
All right, there's no other comments or questions. I motion to approve.
So I just have a quick question, and that is, we're putting money into, and if I miss it, I apologize. Where's the money coming from? Reserves?
It'll come from the bottom line in General Fund 10.
I'm sorry, the bottom line, what?
The bottom line of General Fund 10.
There's some money not spent in general.
Right, the reserves, is that, what, is that not?
It wouldn't be reserves, it's just the bottom line, savings
There's
from General
unbudgeted
Fund.
money.
Right.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
All right, Alderman Rucker.
Is this not to adopt the 25 budget? Isn't this to adjust the 25 budget, not the 24 budget?
Yes.
Second line on the blue sheet says 24. It should be the 25 budget.
That was a test for you, Alderman Rucker. Thank you.
You're not slipping that by him.
If there's no other comments or questions, motion to approve. Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Morose. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Bill 2506 passes. Next, we have Resolution 2025-04, resolution of City of Osage Beach, Missouri, stating facts and reasons for the necessity to amend an increase in budget expenditures for the fiscal year 2025 to purchase and upgrade mid-sized dump truck. Public Works Manager, Zach Wilbur, please.
Thank you. Mayor, members of the board, two would like an amendment. This resolution is for the upcoming amendment. The F-550 is a great truck. I mean, for the small town we used to be or run around in, it was great. Even some of our smaller roads will still always need it. We're realizing we're just beating them to death and they're not living up to their life expectancy. The more we take on, the more we grow, the more we have to haul, the more we have to tow, the more we plow. It's just we're putting a bigger workload on these trucks. And we would like to move, we'll have to keep some F-550s in the fleet, but have a mid-sized dump truck that we can use as well, something that can handle hauling a little better and towing and, you know, a little bit better on the snow because it can carry more salt. We recently lost well, we didn't lose it. We need to replace the engine on it, but it sounds like a main bearing on it went bad and she's knocking. Just more of that wear and tear on those smaller trucks. We were $35,000 roughly light on the budget line itself to purchase this mid-sized truck. And so I do recommend this, approving this resolution. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. Yeah, leave it at that.
All right. Alderman Rucker.
This is the one we discussed during the budget that we wanted to do.
Yeah.
That we wanted to upgrade. So it's something we kind of have been through and just felt it was a proper way to go.
Yeah.
This is just, now we know the exact amount, dotting the I, so to speak.
Right, yeah, I was a little off on the purchasing price, and as with Ron's as well, there's realized savings in the account. It won't affect the unrestricted reserves at this time.
Very good. Anyone else? Alderman Rose.
Yes, Zach, I'm looking at the list that you had sent me on the inventory of trucks.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if you have that also, but which one are we looking at under the dump trucks in the street department?
This will be the two international dump trucks. Their old license plate numbers were 63 and 66. The only two international dump trucks that are noted for replacement. This will replace 66.
Got it. Okay. Just wanted to clarify it. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other comments or questions? If not, do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Barella, beat you again. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, resolution 2504 passes. Next, we have Bill 2508, an ordinance to the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending ordinance 25.93, adopting the 2025 annual operating budget, transfer funds necessary, expenses for the purchase, upgrade, mid-sized truck. Again, Zach Wilbur, please.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. I have nothing to add. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer it.
No other comments or questions. Do I have a motion to approve first reading?
So I have one question.
Yes, sir. Alderman
So
Ross.
this is a first reading. Does this hold up the ability to order this truck?
I will bring it there. That motion is for a separate truck later on in the meeting. I'll bring the second back on the next meeting with the motion to approve this truck. There was two dump trucks.
Try not to hold things up is what I'm asking.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Rucker, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Ross. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, first reading 2508 passes. Next, we have Bill 2509, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute a quit-claim deed to WB Ozark LLC. First reading, City Engineer Drew Bowman, please.
On the blue packet, you can see the picture of the parcel in question. This was a 20 by 20 parcel that we were included on historically. Myself and Public Works went and looked at the area. We don't have any interest. We don't have any infrastructure that would be impaired by giving this to the Wobbly Boots owner. I do recommend approval.
Comments, questions from the board? Alderman Rucker.
Carrie? Yes, sir. Were we on that deed because of the Osage water going under? That's, okay. After I started reading, I was trying to figure out why, but, okay.
Yeah, it was, as soon as it
when
came up, that's what I said, and, you know, Drew and the guys at Public Works just wanted to make sure, but as soon as we saw it, you know.
Yeah, an asset that we got turned over to us because of them, okay, bankruptcy.
There was probably,
I didn't think they had anything else, I didn't think they had anything else in town, but,
no, they don't have anything else in town now.
okay.
All right, anyone else? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading? Alderman Hoffman, you've been pretty quiet down there. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Hoffman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Had a little computer glitch for a second.
2509 passes.
Here, you want some paper?
No.
Next, we have Bill 2510, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to sign change order number 2 final for the Osage Beach Parkway Extension Project. again, City Engineer Drew Bowman.
Mayor, members of the board, this is the final change order accounting for what was actually built in the field. And just changes quantities, and the total change order amount for this is $857.48. This is pretty much just all routine changes, very standard. I do recommend approval.
Any comments, questions from the board?
Motion approved.
Got a motion to approve. Alderman Ross, is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Alderman Hoffman, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, 2509 pass, 2510 passes. Next, we have Bill 2511, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to sign a contract with Schulte Supply for the Neptune fixed-based AMI platform for an amount not to exceed $116,936.48. First reading, Zach Wilbur, please.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. This is the fixed-based meter reading software that we talked about during the budget. It'll use 3 gateways, one on Swiss Tower, one on Bluff Tower, one on Columbia Tower, to give us current reads on all the water meters. Probably set them up as daily, but right now we do a drive-by that we catch the reads every 30 days. This will give us daily reads. It'll allow us to go and just ping a meter to see what the read is. So it'd give us a lot more knowledge of what's going on in the system. Instead of just seeing it every 30 days, we get to see it every day of what's going on. The software does do major backflow events, so we know if a meter's spinning backwards, if something's getting pumped into the system. It also does, you can set high and low level limits on it, so we can see if a customer is having a leak and notify them as soon as possible. The best time this would have been handy was when the lake froze over a couple years ago and Ameren lost power and a bunch of those houses were flooded out. We manually went through and read the system again to check for, just to see if we could find, but if we would have had this, we would have known exactly when the houses did have water breaks. We could have let them know. There are some, I sent an email out today about there are some cost savings based on the labor that we do supply. There's reoccurring subscriptions with this, but for the most part, it's just the labor aspect of it isn't too strenuous, or we're not going to save a ton of time. The time that they do save will be used to do other things, but mostly this is a big customer service focus, giving a little bit more support to the customers when they call. It's instantaneous. We can just look and see where they're at, or what kind of reads or what kind of usage they've been seeing. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I do recommend approval.
All right, questions from the board. Alderman Morose.
Yes, I'm looking at this invoice, Zach, where the total is $116,000 to purchase this. Then it has annual subscription, and I can't figure it out. How much are we going to be spending for annual subscription? And then also the 1-year warranty. How long is the warranty for?
The annual subscription is $10,000. We currently use Neptune 360 and pay an annual subscription already. It is $10,000 that would take to use this. It's not a new expense, and it wouldn't be the entirety of expense because we could lower what we've got. There are maintenance contracts. Each of the gateways is $2,000 a year. We currently have maintenance contracts on our MRX and our belt clip, which is roughly $10,000 a year. So there are some savings by going to these gateways. And then the warranty that you mentioned, I think it's as long as we keep up with the annuals, they're going to cover everything. As long as we pay that annual warranty coverage, just like with our MRX that we use right now, they cover it all.
So for how long? Is there an expiration date?
Every year they'll just ask us if we want to renew our warranty. We'll pay them the warranty, and then it just keeps renewing annually.
So it's continuous?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Alderman Ross.
So a couple things. One, Zach, I think I just, listening to you, we have some subscriptions that we're not going to have to be paying.
Right.
That can be, for lack of a better term, those funds can be utilized for this. Because Zach and I appreciate the time today. We spent some time trying to figure out, and we took an assumption of 10 years. How long would this thing last? And what would be the total cost to own it for 10 years? And then backed into the savings. And until you just mentioned that, it looked like it was going to cost us, as a system, around $10,000 a year. And that's assuming that there's no hardware failures, okay? Now, I don't know about the warranty. I just saw a 1-year warranty, so I assume that there could be a hardware failure, but we didn't put anything that in. But I will say this, when I was out of the country for 3 weeks, and I worked with Keegan because I got a bill, I got it on email. And my usage was up like 3 times more than we usually use in the summertime, let alone the wintertime. And oh, by the way, we hadn't been at the house for over a week. And whenever I delved into it, you all apparently were able to drive out by my home and ping it, I think is what you call it or whatever. And she said, well, and we won't get into what all happened because to tell you the truth, we still haven't figured out what happened. But it said that that one day on a Friday, we used 5,000 gallons of water and the next day we used 6,000, round numbers, okay? And by the way, I sent people over, there were no leaks. I can't figure out we still haven't figured out what's happened to that thing. But at the end of the day, what I think you're telling me is this gives us the ability from a customer service standpoint to see that proactively. Is the system going to alert us that this meter over here, there's something unique going on and we need to go check it out versus waiting for a total at the end of the month or something?
Yes, sir. I think, especially based on how our community is, the nature of the lake, people coming and going all the time, the software we have now does it. It will set high levels and alarms, but we only know every 30 days because that's the only time we get the read. This will give us daily reads, and you can ping them every hour too if you wanted to, but that's just a lot of data. But to just have a one-day glimpse of everybody's reading for that software system to tell you, oh, look, here's a high-level alarm, or here's a major backflow event happening, so you can kind of look at those things.
Well, so what we figured, and I think maybe it's a little less than that, the total cost of ownership additionally is around $10,000 a year, okay? And honestly, for what we're getting, and it may be just a little less than that, assuming we don't have any significant hardware failures in the first 10 years, I'm very sensitive to investments in the water system right now. I think we need to look at break-even type analysis and payback periods, especially after going through some of the rate increases. But at this point, I support it. I think it's a good idea, and I appreciate you bringing it forward. That's all I have.
All right, anyone else? Alderman Rucker.
Well, if I also understand what Alderman Ross was saying, is that actually your $10,000 figure is going to be a little less now because there's some other cost savings that we will see. So, okay, so it's even a little bit less, it's even less than that. So, yeah, support it as well.
Alderman
I just
Brown.
had a comment.
Yes.
I think I'm in favor of that. I think embracing that technology, as long as we're using it correctly, is going to be a benefit to the homeowners, so I'm in favor.
Alderman Hoffman? No? Okay.
Motion to approve.
All right, have a motion to approve Alderman Ross. Do I have a second? Alderman Morose has the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Very good. Bill 2511 passes. Next, we move on to Bill 2512, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute a driveway and fence easement with Julia C. Jansma and J. Jansma trustees of the Julia C. Jansma Revocable Trust dated July 25th, 2012, first reading. Zach Wilbur, please.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. We have an easement, so this area is Stonebrook. It's not Ozark Meadows, I know that's not. That's where College Boulevard makes that loop. We have that easement that runs for the main that leads from Sands all the way to the treatment plant. So that big 24-inch there, this homeowner would just like to encroach on our easement for a driveway and some parking in a fence area. There's no concerns to us. The easement covers us if we need to remove that, but just for benefit of the customer to be able to use that portion of their lot to put it in the driveway over top of that sewer main, and I don't see any conflict with that.
Very good.
Do you recommend approval?
All right. Alderman Hoffman.
Yes, I've been light tonight because we have a lot on the agenda, Mr. Mayor. So, Carrie, is there any concerns about this impacting zoning around it or anything?
No, this is just, the function of it is they've got this easement that runs next to the lot, and they've already poured some concrete and have I think they've got their RV or something parking on top of them. They just didn't know it was there, they had come in and wanted to talk about putting up a fence and some stuff, and I'm initially the one that caught the fact that you put it on not your property. This is why they are doing this. It's simply a very large easement that runs right through the middle of the development, and, a lot of times folks just don't know they're there.
Sure.
And the one thing that we can offer them, we obviously can't sell them any of that property because we do have that force main running through there, but we can give them an easement to use their, put a driveway and put a fence there. And as, my thing with Cole and with Zach was, as long as we have all of the rights to go in there if we need to do something, and they'll be begging us because it'll be a 24-inch sewer main. I don't have a problem.
Right.
Like, can you get over here now? As long as that's written in there and into the easement, which it is, we're good to go.
Okay.
This will serve them well.
Great, thanks.
Anyone else? Alderman Rucker.
Help, guys, staff. What's the difference between this and someone putting a driveway in over the right-of-way? Is the difference because of right-of-way and a difference in right-of-way and easement? Is that why both of it's our property, right?
This just
So there's not
provides
going to be a permit, they couldn't go through just a permit process? It had to come to the board?
Right-of-way and easements are handled a little bit different. So right-of-way is basically, one is an ingress, egress, and transportation easement, if you want to call it, but it's a right-of-way. So it's assumed that you will have to provide access to the roadway, okay? This is a specific easement that's done by plat that is specific to a force main, and this is just more of providing them with the easement on top of that. They're putting money on top of that. It just, it provides us with protection to go ahead and grant them an easement to do so. So.
When I read it, I was like, well, why couldn't this be handled the same way as a driveway easement? But I realized one's an easement and one's,
One's right away.
Okay.
They're different.
okay.
Anyone else? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Rucker, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, Bill 2512, first reading passes. Next, we have Bill 2513, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with the state of Missouri for an office for the Veterans Commission. First and second reading. City Administrator Devin Lake, please.
Good evening, Board and Mayor. I was contacted by the Veterans Commission late last year about moving back into the basement of City Hall. We have researched that space and the costs associated with that space, and I believe we can accommodate them returning. This would bring back that service to our community. They would like to move in on March 1st, so that's why I'm proposing a first and second reading. Cole has reviewed the contract. There's a couple of minor changes that were requested by the state, which are easy for us to accommodate. We're going to set the rent the same as it was the last time they were here. So I would recommend approval of the contract.
All right, comments or questions? Alderman Hoffman.
I'd just like to suggest that, assuming that this passes, that we put something up on our website stating that we have this here. I know that when I first moved home, I was here for a year and a half before I even knew that we had that available to us. So I don't know where that lack of communication is, if it's a veterans committee that didn't do it or what, but I just would like to have that information out there for the veterans, please.
Can do that.
Very good. If there's no other comments, Alderman Rucker.
Does this contract, and I realize Cole's not here, but does this contract have verbiage in it for annual CPI increases of some kind?
I don't believe
Every
it.
once in a while increases?
It's on an annual basis, and I think they put in there that they can extend it if they would like, up to an additional 2 years. but we can always negotiate that per year.
Okay, so that's something I think we need to do with that with everything. We kind of tend to say, oh, well, we'll let it go, and then a couple of years go by, and it's like, oh, we need a whole bunch more, whether it was with water rates or feet, whatever. So I just wanted us to be attentive to looking at that regularly.
All right.
Let's have a quick question for
Alderman Ross.
clarity. I was reading this and I didn't look at it that close to start with, but the first term of the lease is just for 4 months, is that correct? March?
Oh, it's their fiscal year.
Pardon me?
Their fiscal year.
So that just lines up, that's why they're doing it that way, and then it
Correct.
renews it for 1 year after that?
Right.
Okay, no worries, just making sure.
All right, no other comments or questions. Do I have a motion to approve for first reading?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Hoffman, do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, first reading, Bill 2513 passes. Second reading, same bill, 2513, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Steel of the state of Missouri for an office for the Veterans Commission. Second reading, there's no other comments or questions. Do I have a motion to approve second reading?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Hoffman.
Second.
Second, Alderman
So
Rucker.
moved.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Hoffman,
Yes.
Alderman Rucker,
Yes.
Alderman Morella,
Yes.
Alderman Morose, Alderman Morose. Alderman Morose,
Thank you. Now I can hear you.
thank you, sorry, I
Yes.
forgot my mic. You're yes, are you a yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Alderman Ross,
Yes.
Alderman Osteen.
All right, second reading passes. Welcome back, veterans.
Nice to see.
All right, next we have Bill 2514, ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, to execute a road relinquishment agreement for the West Osage Beach Parkway with the Missouri Highway and Transportation Commission. City Engineer Drew Bowman.
The purpose of this road relinquishment agreement is to relinquish a portion of the state highway system to the city of Osage Beach. Specifically, the right-of-way that will be relinquished to the city is the part from the Key Largo connector all the way through our extension project to Executive Drive. This will also effectively take this part of Osage Beach Parkway and bring it into city inventory. I do recommend approval. It was also one of the reasons why the extension project got the cost share funding from MoDOT, and will also allow us to install the digital signboard on the welcome sign. I do recommend approval.
Comments or questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Alderman Morose. We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I was waiting for our Alderman Hoffman, but he was affirmative also. All right, first reading passes. Next, we have Bill 2515, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute a maintenance agreement with Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for a portion of Key Largo connection. First reading, City Engineer Drew Bowman.
This is the maintenance agreement that goes along with the roadway conveyance. Basically, MoDOT wants to retain the ability to maintain and designate the signs on the Key Largo connector, that exit off of 54 right there. This is in our benefit, and I do recommend approval.
Anybody have a comment or question? Seeing, Alderman Rucker.
I'm confused on what this is doing. We own it. It's a city street now?
The connector portion, the exit portion, is MoDOT's right-of-way right up until the right-of-way for the parkway comes in. So on the exhibit, that shaded area is the portion that we'll own, but they'll maintain the signs and paint and all the traffic control devices for. So they're essentially they want to maintain the right to do those things, but it's in our benefit, so we don't have to.
So who's going to maintain maintenance of it, snow plowing, et cetera?
For that portion of it, they'll be plowing the connector area, that exit area, because they own it. But we'll be, that shaded area is what the maintenance agreement is for. The rest of it is ours. All of the parkway is ours. But the shaded area in the exhibit, which is like, I think, a stop sign and some other, like, do not enter signs and some of that stuff that is technically in our right-of-way, they want to keep control of, basically.
I understand the signs. I just want to make sure we're clear and don't all of a sudden end up with a pile of snow out there and no, it's yours, and are both trucks going over it?
This is the
and-
signage that will be in
yeah.
our 120 feet of right-of-way that's up on the parkway. Okay, so we're now taking over the straight 120 out to like the executive park, and they have signs that are in our portion of the right-of-way now. They want to continue to maintain those, the signs that say go this way or go this way. MoDOT's going to maintain those signs. As far as everything else, operations and maintenance, snow plow, painting the ground, that's us. So it's just signage is all they're talking about. It's still in our.
We could
little
trade off the
square.
population signs?
Nothing to do with population signs, no.
That's all.
All right, if there's no other questions, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Alderman Rucker. I have a second. Alderman Morose. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
2515 passes. Next, we have a motion to approve the purchase of a single axle cab and chassis from Premier Truck Group along with a salt spreader, plow, and various accessories from Henderson for an amount not to exceed $220,082. Public Works, Zach Wilbur.
Thank you, sir. Mayor, members of the board, this is a truck outside of the last amendment. This one we actually had the funding for. It is comparable to big single axles we have now, 11-foot bed, 10-foot salt hopper with an 11-foot plow. That we have had some issues with our big internationals going down, needing a lot of routine maintenance, a lot of rusting, integrity issues, those sorts of things. It is time to replace them. We will be selling them once the new ones come in. It's $220,000. I do recommend approval. Thank you.
Questions from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion? Alderman Morose.
Yes, excuse me, Zach, again, looking at the inventory sheet, I'm sorry to be, I just like to know which one are we looking at again to replace?
66. So the amendment for the new truck and then the motion on this one would be the two internationals, 66. Yeah,
The same, 66.
or 63. Both those internationals would be shipping down the road, whichever one comes in first.
63 and
Yeah.
66.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Alderman Morose. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Rucker. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Motion passes. Next, we have a motion to approve the purchase of traffic signal equipment from Cubic for an amount not to exceed $40,180. Again, Zach Wilbur.
Thank you, members, mayor, members of the board. We are in the process of updating all our traffic signals. This will almost finish it out. We'll still have one out there that we'll need to do, which is the Hy-Vee intersection, but this will be the grid smart cameras that we're all moving towards now with just a single camera head to control the traffic. We just put one in at the Outlet Mall intersection. You might have seen the guys out there working, but purchased that one late last year and that one just got installed. We like to put these two new ones up at the KK and Deerberg's intersections where they cross the parkway. The guys, I don't know, we haven't had any issues with them after they made it through their first round. Their Gen 1s came out. They had a software upgrade and everything's been really good since then. So we have had really good success with these as far as maintenance issues. We really don't have any. really knowledgeable tech that comes down, has no problems ever come down helping us out when we do have an issue. So it's nice. Yeah, I even came down and adjusted the camera head at the Walmart light for us a couple weeks ago, so that was handy. It's about $40K, and I do recommend approval.
Questions from the board?
So I just have, the old light systems used to drive me crazy because if we had lightning or water or whatever reason, they would go into a default, and then whether somebody was coming up to the main line, usually that's the Parkway, they would, they would just change no matter what, okay? Or do these have some capability to alert you if that's gonna happen, or they just don't let that happen? I'm hoping that we're gonna get past that, because it used to drive me crazy getting stopped in the middle of 6:30 in the morning going by Deerbergs, and there's no one coming out of Deerbergs, and you got stopped for no reason for anybody to get on the Parkway. Is that?
This is just the camera portion of it.
Oh,
We
okay.
have been going through and updating all the conflict monitors, but this will get us away from the multiple cameras and the loop detectors.
Okay.
And I think KK is the only one where we needed to update the conflict monitor, but those are usually well within my purchasing approval to get it, so we don't really, the board never sees those come by.
So once those conflict monitors are all upgraded, then we would have less of that, what I'm describing?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, some of that stuff was, old, mold out old.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Anybody else? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Hoffman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. All right, folks, last item of business. We have motion to approve the purchase of Titan Olympian Pro chassis mounted leaf vacuum truck from Key Equipment for price not to exceed $307,065.75. Again, Zach Wilbur.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. As we discussed in the last budget meeting to free up some funds, this is pretty much we're going to purchase this vehicle, but it's more of a purchasing agreement because it's 16 months out on a lead time, so we won't see it until next year anyways. So this will be allocated in the 2026 budget. The street department has done a lot of due diligence in looking at these things. They have, over the last 6 months, traveled, went places. We've had them come in, we've demoed them. This is a very expensive machine, but the cheaper machines just couldn't do it. Like the hills we have around here, being able to pull the hill and suck the leaves at the same time, the Titan was the best by far of all of them. We had a CDL required, but there was just the non-CDL Leaf X wouldn't even come close to what we'd expect that we need to have it do. It is. This would be a not to exceed of the 307. There's a $1,500 discount because it's a GBAC cooperative bid. So there is some money that will come off of that 0.5%. But I do recommend approval. Happy to answer any questions. The rep did guarantee me we will not see this thing till next year. So there's no concerns that it will show up this year and we'll be on the hook for it.
All right, questions from the board? Alderman Rose.
Just one question. I don't see anywhere, what kind of warranty do we have on this purchase?
So key equipment is pretty good, but most times with these specialized warranty, you've got a cabin chassis warranty, the 1 year from the factory or the less than, but sometimes when they modify these things, we don't get a lot of warranty out of them, but key equipment will mess with everything on the back half, the auxiliary engine and the hopper. I could check, but I'm pretty sure it's just a 1 year parts and materials warranty on it, just because of the specialized unit of it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Alderman Barella.
Are we getting rid of any one that we had? Didn't we have one that broke down?
We have 2 leaf back trailers. We will eventually phase them out, but assuming in 26 comes, we could probably let one go. I mean, we had one break down the entire year this year. So, they're hit or miss. Most times we only got one going, so it's kind of hard to, which one's the worst one to sell. I think it'd be better to wait just kind of hold on to them, and then when we have a secondary unit, because you really need two to pick up all the leaves, because you could sell the new one and the old one breaks, or sell the old one and the new one breaks, and you're still down to one machine. It's just, they're so touchy, it's hard. But yeah, we have 2 trailers that we will get rid of one day.
I definitely think it's a service the community appreciates, so.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Rucker, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Ross, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Very good. Now we're going to move on to staff communications. We're going to start with the city administrator, Devin Lake.
Good evening, Board and Mayor. I wanted to remind you guys about the CVB dinner. I had emailed you earlier this week. That dinner is on March 4th, so if you would like to attend, please let me know this evening so I can let Heather know early tomorrow morning. And I also wanted to thank Public Works. They did an amazing job on snow removal, as they have the last 3 events this year. They do a fantastic job. Jamie does a fantastic job of advertising their awesome work. So I think it's been good community engagement, and they are appreciated. So that's all I have.
All right, very good. Assistant City Administrator, April White.
In case you haven't heard, our Employee Appreciation Dinner is next Friday. I'm sure you've received the emails, but if you haven't, please RSVP to Maddie or through the link she provided by tomorrow. And changes have been made, so I hope we see everybody there. And please let your staff know, too. Those of you who have staff members who don't check their email.
If you don't mind, share with everybody what we're doing. It's going to be fun.
Yes, at La Roca, off Airport Road, starting at 5:30. Dinner catered by Smoke and Jones, and casino night with craps table back, roulette, poker tables, music, short presentation probably by Devin and the mayor, and just lots of fun and to be had. Dancing in the aisle, whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun, so hope everybody can make it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. Tara, you have anything?
I do not have anything tonight, thank you.
Chief?
This weekend, starting tomorrow afternoon, is the polar plunge events here at the lake.
Polar
Plunge.
double, triple.
Yeah, yeah. Myself and 17 others are doing the super plunge, so 24 times in 24 hours. Went down there today. They're pushing the snow into the lake at the boat ramp where we plunge.
This is
So
awesome.
Let's make the water a little colder. And unfortunately, the cove is froze over, so the divers are be out tomorrow morning breaking ice, so the regular plungers can plunge on Saturday. It's the strut. They have the strut, the peewee plunge, the regular plunge, chili cook-off, and this year with it being the 30th anniversary, we have an after party as well. So festivities start at 10 with the strut that morning and go for the rest of the day. So come on down and support Special Olympics.
Building official, Ron White.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a few thank yous to pass out today. I'm sure at least, well, more than 1 or 2 of you probably received some phone calls yesterday asking about who the strapping young men were outside shoveling snow off the sidewalks and stairs. Big thank you to Carrie Patterson for coming in and assisting with that. It was Carrie and I, not so young, but very strapping. I'd also like to send out a thanks to Rob with transportation and his guys. They came in this morning to touch up the sidewalks and clear a couple because the strapping young men didn't have time to get enough ibuprofen in them to be able to get out there themselves. Also, Gold Mechanical, another thanks to them. That's the company that came out that you guys so graciously approved for them to fix our HVAC system. I think I speak for all of City Hall, both sides, when I say thank you for that. They did show up last week when the equipment came in. That was the big thanks. As soon as equipment got on site, they were here. They got them both fixed. They stayed through Saturday to make sure that we were up and running, and that's why we're warm tonight. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you much. Airport, Ty Dinsdale.
I have nothing this evening, thank you.
HR, Maddie.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Abby Barrett, the other half of my department. She's been killing it with getting interviews scheduled. We have a bunch of positions we've been hiring for, and she's been coordinating all of that really well. So yeah, just thank you to her.
All right, thank you. Drew, you have anything else?
Nothing to add tonight.
All right. Zach, you got anything left?
Yes, sir. I'd just like to echo what Devin was saying as well. I really appreciate the guys and put in some long hours, and I think we ran 24-hour shifts since Sunday. I think that went in Sunday night, but yeah, even there's guys coming on Saturday too to mess around with that little light dusting. So, but really appreciate all their hard work, and it was a hard one to mess with, but they did a great job.
Carrie Bell.
Yes, Mayor, Board of Aldermen. I hope this sheet looks familiar to all of you. I push it out every time there's a board meeting. I just wanted to give you a heads up that it will shrink by not quite 50%, but we've been waiting for all of the 24 invoices to come in, and we believe those have all been posted. So all of the projects that have been completed in 24 will be removed from this sheet when you get it again. That equals, as far as construction projects, $1,237,744 completed will be removed. And on the vehicle and equipment side, $2,321,292 have been completed and will be removed. So if you ever have any questions about this information, feel free to ask me about that. And then I have an announcement I'd like to make about one of our team members reaching their 5-year anniversary. Keegan Powers reached her 5-year anniversary this month. And she started at the city as the accounts receivable clerk. And although a lateral move, I don't know why, she took on the utility billing. That's a very challenging position in our group. But she took that on, and I just want to express my appreciation for her knowledge. She's very inquisitive, and she's always willing to share that knowledge with any department, customer, anybody that asks. And just greatly appreciate, great asset to the city.
Thank you very much. Gary Patterson.
Yeah, planning department will be coming with a budget amendment for a snow blower. And that was horrible. That was horrible. I'm too old for that. Ron's way older than me. So no meetings this month for Planning Commission, Board of Zoning Adjustment, but I do have things for the March agenda for Planning Commission already. Other than that, I do want to throw out the guys did a great job in the snow. Been around for a long time, and I've seen, how the roads have been treated by our public works for a long time, and this was up with some of the best. So, Zach, tell the guys they did a great job. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you much. Alderman Ross, the last meeting we went opposite because, so we're going to start this week and we'll go to Phyllis, Alderman Rose.
Yes, thank you. Again, ditto, 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 and applause to Public Works on the street department. When I think back a number of years ago, many years ago, almost 20, I remember we had 20 inches of snow in January, and that's the most snow I've ever seen over a weekend at one time. And this was the second most snow that I can remember seeing that just came down and wouldn't stop. But again, our street department did a marvelous job, and I thank you. And Jamie, thank you for your fun contest that you had of naming the snow plows. I've seen comments on Facebook that people are enjoying relating to that. And Chief Davis, I hope you don't freeze to death, but I applaud you and your force of doing the polo plunge. And other than that, it seems very odd to be in a virtual tonight, but I just thought it best because I've had a coughing sensation and I didn't want to interrupt the meeting. But anyway, thank you for everything, and we'll see you next time.
All right, thank you. Alderman Ross.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't think that when I decided, our family took 3 weeks in late January and early February, that we would miss as much as we have. So I've got a few things, and I'll try to be brief. First of all, echo the transportation folks and all of their work. To put a little perspective on it, I had an opportunity when I was out shoveling snow on my driveway for someone came by, and they said they had come from KK. And they said that over on this side that we were in great shape, and the streets were in great shape. And they said KK is still a hot mess, and that was about noon yesterday. So whatever you're doing a lot better than a lot of other folks. So great job. Don't want to forget about the water and sewer folks. This is some pretty tough weather to work in, and I'm sure that there's some challenges out there right now, whether it's water main breaks or things like that. And those folks out there working in this kind of cold, I would definitely want to recognize them for all of their efforts. The police, those guys are out there too. In this weather and this, before you guys got a chance to clean some things up and make a big impact, you guys are out there running the road. So thank all your guys for us, if you would. On top of that, the detective work that was done around the ATM, and I know this is a little dated, but I wasn't here then. Great work. Thank you. That is, to think that someone from Texas that has probably could never track, and that within 24 hours we had him apprehended, was pretty amazing. And so, technology is great today. And on that note, I want to say that Alderman Rucker, I completely support your comments from the last meeting. We need to give the people the tools. And as long as those LPRs are not used for misdemeanors, I'm all in, okay? Next, and Chief, your polar plunge record, I don't even know how to start with that one. That is just amazing. Your commitment to Special Olympics is phenomenal. So thank you for all you do there. Also, to recognize Jamie, some of your professionalism and your, I'm going to say comedy, if you will. I'm not sure it's quite comedy, but your fun that you bring to the social media posts is great. And I don't know that I never imagined it could have ever been that good, and I'm not so sure that anybody could ever do it as good as you're doing. You're doing a phenomenal job, and thank you. Zach, we're going to miss you. Thanks for all you've done. Appreciate everything that you've helped out with. Good luck to you. Can't say enough for, I don't know how many years have you been with us? 4 now. And the last 4 years made an impact on this organization, and we certainly appreciate that. And I hope to get over and speak to Nathan, but if I don't, please let him know I have the same feelings too, okay? Drew, you brought up the welcome sign, and so I know the mayor, this is a hot button for him, but do we have any expectation of when it may be complete? Because I know at one point there was a challenge in building or making the actual screens, if you will, the LEDs or whatever, but that isn't, we're not even at
So
that.
the current project is just for the structure that you
Right.
see and to put the stone on. The stone was initially supposed to be installed on the 17th and 18th, but,
Right.
weather permitting. So I haven't heard back this week on when they think they might complete the work, but this is basically the last stage of where we are currently. The relinquishment of the right-of-way will allow us to install the signboard, and we can start an RFP or however we need to acquire that signboard and install it in the future, but the right-of-way had to be owned by the city first.
So I guess my memory is failing me on this one. I thought we had purchased it because there was a long lead time. So we have not purchased the signboard whatsoever?
No.
Okay, because I knew there were 2 components. We had to build a structure
Right.
that would hold the signboards, and I thought that, so, okay. So it may be several months before we get the completion of the final sign. Is that what I'm understanding?
I think that's likely, yes.
Okay, very good, thank you. So the next thing I want to bring up is the pressure reducing valves. There seems to be some confusion in what was proposed last meeting and how that actually, how would I say, is executed in the field. So I want to ask this question for clarity. So if tomorrow, let's assume that I have, and this, I don't know if this is Zach or Devin or whoever, but tomorrow, assuming that I have a pressure reducing valve on my meter pit, okay, and it fails, okay, what is the next step?
the city would offer to,
I'm going to notify you all, of
Right.
course, okay? I got a pressure problem, so what happens now?
the water department shows up, yep, it's bad, give you the option for a 60-day loaner, or for you to just say, no, I'll just replace it with myself, or I'll accept the mainline pressure. Those are the 3 options that we have right now.
Okay, so it's still, other than to request an extension, there's still just a 60-day window.
Right, and then you would be required to put a PRV on your side of the line outside. Then you would be, if you wanted to maintain pressure at your residence, put a PRV outside and downstream of the meter pit, wherever you see fit.
Well, I think that there has been some, and some other folks may want to jump in here in a second, but I think that there was some perception that that would be maintained for 2 more years, because there was 2 years discussed. And so I will tell you from a quote macro level, that I don't support the fact that we have taken the largest water increase that we have ever taken in the last year, that we're adding headcount. I don't know that we've actually made the hires, but I know we budgeted for more headcount. So we're able to spend money there, but at the same time that we're going to reduce services. And I also wondered at the time and thought when I first read it, that we were, that the 60 days was out, and that 2 years where they were going to be maintained. And maybe I'm the only one that thought that, but if that's the case, then I don't support that. And I may look to bring some type of a change in the ordinances, because I understand what you guys are up against right now. The ordinance says that we don't maintain pressure, okay, it's a responsibility. But we have been doing so for somewhere around 20 years. And when you do something for so long and then tell people you're going to take that away, that doesn't set well, and I don't think that's the best thing. And so, there may be some other comments as this thing goes along. But I think that we need to, this is not a done deal in my mind, and we're going to have some more discussions and possibly some votes up or down. And the board may disagree with me, but that's how I feel about it at this time. I don't know if he can. It's okay. Kevin raised his hand. If he wants to talk about this now, that's fine with me.
I specifically understood that meeting, and that's why I asked the question about the time frame, because it said 2 years or until we were run out. That's how long the program would last. And shame on me, and I will tell you in the future what I want to see when these kinds of things happen. In the future, what I want to see is, after that discussion, I want to see it in writing. I want to see in writing what the staff believes we accepted. And I want to see in writing what I accepted, because from what I understand, what I believe I accepted is not what's going on. Because what I believe is supposed to happen is, I'll just take me. I call tomorrow, my valve is bad. And you come out and say, yeah, it's bad. Okay, and you're going to replace it. But now also in the meantime, you're starting a massive communication process to everybody to let them know that this program is done in 2 years. So theoretically, if every day my valve breaks, I get a new one every day for 2 years. At the end of 2 years, I'm done. At the end of 2 years, if it goes out, I've got to do something. I can't put it in the pit because we went down that path. I have to do something. But I was under the understanding that we've given 2 years for this thing to play out. From what I understand now, we haven't changed anything. The only thing we've changed is the fact that we're going to keep doing it for 2 years. But if my meter breaks tomorrow, or not my meter, excuse me, it's not the meter, it's the pressure releasing valve. I want to make sure. If that pressure releasing valve goes out tomorrow, then I'm going to have to replace it. In my situation, I'm going to put another pit in. I can't put it in the house. And I've got 2 lines coming off my 1 meter. It's just my little world. But, my understanding is this program was going to go for 2 more years. I do not want to remove from the ordinance the fact that eventually I don't want the ordinance to change and put us in the responsibility of maintaining the pressure. But I agree with Alderman Ross. We've been doing this for a long time. Can't do anything about the past. There was a mistake made, but as we remedy to fix it, I think we need to come up with a reasonable, and I thought the 2 years was a reasonable time. If we think that's a little bit too long, I might be able to negotiate a little bit less, but I'm not in favor of what I believe you just said. That is not what I supported.
Am I incorrect?
No.
Okay. I'll just make sure everybody's on, I'm not speaking
So
out
the
of turn.
form that was presented at the last board meeting was a form that would be signed by the owners if something were to fail. There were 3 options. Either A, they accept the pressure and we remove it and everything's fine. B, they can choose to have their water turned off and have their PRV installed before the water's turned back on. Or 3, we will give them a courtesy loaner for 60 days with up to an extension on 30-day requests up to 6 months to give them the time to be able to replace that. We would continue that courtesy service up to 2 years when we have the inventory, and we would continue to buy inventory of these PRVs. And then at the 2-year mark, when we're out of inventory, we would discontinue the service. That was the form that was presented in the packet.
So my PRV valve goes out tomorrow, and I've got those 3 options, and I choose for you to put another one in, and you're going to put it in for 60 days. But then I'm going to come to you in 60 days and say, I want an extension. And every 60 days, I come to you for an extension. And I can continually doing that for up to 2 years.
No, up to
6 months.
Up to
Where's the
6
2 years
months.
come in? I thought the 2 years was, my understanding was the 2 years was the time that we were going to continue with the program. And that's when that document would have to be signed after the 2 years that I have to replace it or do without. That's what I thought, and that's what I understood.
No, we would keep inventory of PRVs for courtesy loaners for the 2 years.
I didn't understand it that way, and I don't support that.
If I may, I completely concur with Alderman Ross and Alderman Rucker. I was here 2 weeks ago. That is not how I took that discussion piece. I'm going to just assume that it was just kind of a lack of communication. We were kind of hustling through it because Alderman Ross wasn't here. But the 2 years, what's really sticking out there for me, and this is taking care of our customers. So I hope we don't have to go the route of changing the ordinance, but if we can't figure this one out next week, then I think that we need to look into bringing it back up.
Alderman Brill.
I did interpret the way that Devin spoke and said, that's the way I understood it to be, that we were just going to offer the service for 2 years and have the parts and replace those.
Anything else, Alderman Ross?
I have one more thing, nothing more on that subject. It's last, but it's certainly just as important as any of the other things that have been brought up, and I want to recognize the mayor. The comments that you made around another board member from another town and their remarks on social media, I saw. Of course, I was out of the country. I don't tend to get involved in those things for many reasons. Anybody wants to know, they can grab me off to the side. I'd be glad to let them know why. But I want to say, I think you were on point, and I appreciate you bringing it up and having our backs. Thank you very much. And that's all I have, and I'm sorry for such a long list.
All right, thank you. Alderman Hoffman.
Yes, I've a couple of things. I've got some updates on things that are going on at the state level. We've had a few things here that have gone from our staff up through the board and through the mayor that landed up as bills. And I went up to the hearing and spoke last week with Representative Vernetti and with Representative Mayhew from the 124, which is our neighboring district. The 2 bills were, one was on the airport, and it got through committee. I just received a text about 10 minutes ago that it got through committee, which leaves it open for us to take over the airport at some point should we come to terms with DNR. So I want to thank the committee and Vernetti for getting that through. The other one was the entertainment district. Representative Mayhew actually was the lead representative on that, and there's a similar bill from Senator Bernstetter, and everybody came up there and spoke favorably for it. There were some lobbyists, and actually Commissioner Skelton spoke positively for it too, and I'm happy to report that that also got through committee today. And I wasn't able to go to the hearing 2 days ago, which was on the bridge renaming for the Grand Glades Bridge for Officer Carson. But we did have Officer O'Day, and I believe her husband,
Lieutenant O'Day and.
Lieutenant
Marianne
O'Day.
was there, yes.
And they went up and spoke in favor, and I'm happy to report that Representative Vernetti said that they did an excellent job at the hearing, and that too got through committee. So it's just really nice to see all the work that our staff, our board, our mayor, and our state representatives going to bat for us up there and getting this stuff through. And these are all things that are very favorable for us. So I want to say thanks to Representative Vernetti for his hard work on it, and Representative Mayhew and Ike Skelton for supporting us. And it was just really nice to see everybody up there from the lake working together. And these are all things that benefit Osage Beach. So, Chief, good luck tomorrow. I wasn't going to come down, but I'm going to have to now. It's just the ice. I'm coming down. Public Works, Transportation, you guys crushed it. Fantastic. Well done. And lastly, go America, beat Canada.
Hopefully they'll be scoring real soon.
All right, thank you very much. Alderman Barella.
Chief Davis, good luck this weekend.
Thanks.
You're a brave soul. Thank you for your continued support, Special Olympics. Jamie, I don't think I can compliment enough. I think she's doing a fabulous job. I think the community really enjoys her communications. And I was very sad to see that Zach is going to be leaving us. I appreciate his knowledge in his department. And just wanted to say, good job on the streets and let your guys know that we appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much. Alderman Rucker.
Yes, a couple things. One, obviously, the street crews. And when I say the street crews, I just want to make sure everybody else is aware. It's not just the transportation department, because, and I'm not trying to downplay them, but I know they're the leads and out, but there's also the group that Zach has that comes together and from different departments and makes it work. And of course, the people up here to keep the city hall open. And hopefully, Carrie, we don't have to send you for workers' comp back injury now. So, but yeah, it was a great job that was done. I was out on the roads today, wasn't yesterday, but could have been if I wanted to, and I just couldn't believe how great they were. So good job. Chief, I know it's going to be cold, because I can remember years and years ago that we took the fire boats in there and just ran the motors blowing some warm water in there to keep some of the ice, and we just had a little ice at that point, and that was my job for that weekend. And I can't imagine this cold. This is no. So, but good luck with that, and thank you for your participation. At our last meeting, we had a gentleman come to us about the largest paddlefish that had been caught here. We need to take advantage of that. I don't know what way. I'm not saying we put a monument out, but there's all kinds of ways to do it. I had the luxury to travel a lot of this country over the last couple of years, haven't been able to recent. But those are the little things like that that draw crazy people like me that are out traveling. Say, oh, I'll stop by and see the largest rocking chair, or I'll see this, or I'll see that. So I'm not saying that we do something with it physically, but we maybe need to take his idea and see what we can do to pass it on, especially in social media. If we just pass on the fact that we have it, if we include it on our website, if we go to the chambers, I mean, there's a lot of things we can do on things like that help our community by bringing tourism in, that I think we ought to try to capitalize. He brought it to us, and I think we should try to see what we can do to build upon that. Maybe there's some fishing outfit out there that want to build a monument. I don't know. The only sad thing is a couple of years somebody could catch a bigger one. But I think we should think about capitalizing on that. The emergency purchasing that was just recently done, I just want to tell you, I was the author, which shouldn't surprise some of you, but it was the author to make some changes to the last thing at the last time, because previously, when we'd done some emergency purchases, I wasn't satisfied with the process. Staff did what they were supposed to, but I wanted it to be done different, and the board supported it when it was brought, and I want to say, this was done what I think was the right way. It wasn't done wrong before, I don't want to say that. It was followed by the ordinance before. The ordinance didn't give the guidance that this ordinance does, and this came to place just the way it should have. You had a situation, you went out and took care of it, you brought it back to the board to keep us apprised with it, and we followed through with the budget adjustments and everything. So these things will happen from time to time, and I'm just thank you for following that practice, and it paid off. Lastly, is the employee survey was done quite some time ago, and I shamefully haven't brought it up prior to now, but I have taken the time to look at that more than a few times, and the last time I looked at it in great detail because I wasn't in as much back pain and could take the time to read it. And I consider that to be a 360 evaluation. As far as I'm concerned, that's what that was. So I recommend to everybody, staff, elected officials, to read through it and look at what's being said there. And remember, it's what people feel. It's their perspective. Some of those things I'm sure were directed at me. And I was like, oh, that wasn't my intent. That wasn't but it was the way somebody else perceived it. So I just tell you that, we need to look at those things. We all need to be big boys and girls and look in the mirror and see what we can do to look through that and help out those things from occurring, especially the bad things that were felt were occurring. So with that, everybody stay warm over the next couple of days, and just think they're talking 60 degrees Monday. So thank you.
Very good.
And Zach, good luck. You'll be missed.
All right. I just have a few things, some chicken scratches, nothing really terrible tonight. Kind of all positive. First of all, Chief, is that dog still here?
Nope, it's been released, or
Was adopted?
picked up. It was picked up.
By the owners?
Not sure.
Okay.
It was the owner? Okay.
Great. I mean, because that's why I want to start off, and Alderman Hoffman, he was a big part of this too, because just a year and a half ago, we had that little cage out back, and it was cold, and I still remember at the parade, and it was snowing, and anyway, we got on board, and Ron and everybody at the time, and I went over there just to check on it, because the police found it in the parking lot by PetSmart, scared. They had to use whatever they called to grab it underneath, and long fingernails, just was dumped. I mean, I just makes me sick that somebody could do that, but the police brought it in. Jamie put it all over social media, and another great story that another dog was adopted, so thanks so much, Chief. Polar Plunge, good luck. I've judged, I think, the last 3 years. I'm going to be helping my daughter move up in Iowa, so I can't be there, but what a great cause, and even when you did it on top of Hy-Vee and everything, so what a great cause, so kudos to you and all your men. Congratulations, Keegan. I didn't realize it was 5 years, so congratulations to her. I'll tell her in the office tomorrow. 5 years, that's impressive. Hopefully, she'll be here for many more years. And Zach, Tuesday's not here yet. So I'll wait. All right, so I'll wait.
Well played.
I'll wait before I tell you anything, but just telling you, Tuesday's not here yet. A lot of people, Ron, I know you said that you and Carrie, my understanding is April was here as well, when the city hall was.
I was warm in my office.
All right. But I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. I mean, I'm emailing Devin, and we're talking, and we're on the phone. What do we do? And the people really do take your fiduciary responsibilities very serious in this entire room, and the staff, because when we are on the phone and say, what do we do? Do we close City Hall? The other ones have. Well, it's not that bad, but what do you think? It's the taxpayers' money. What do you think? And so we go back and forth, and then talked to Ron and Carrie, they're on site, and so it's not, the decisions are not made lightly, so hopefully we made the right decisions for everybody's safety and for the citizens of Osage Beach. But appreciate those that came in early, took care of things, and they really do go the extra mile, so thank you to all of you. Stoplights, I know you're talking about, it's not ours, but I keep saying every week about letting us know if you have a problem, and I can't stress that enough, whether it's sewage or water or street lights or whatever. We cannot fix a problem unless we know about a problem. I had a friend of mine text me last weekend, I think it was a Saturday or Sunday, stoplight down 42, turned out wasn't ours, it was MoDOT's. But had they not called me, we probably would have been all over social media of all the tragic things that were happening, and we weren't taking care of things. But because somebody called and made a polite complaint, it was taken care of. So we really try our best to do what's right out there, but if you have a problem, let us know, we'll try to take care of it. Last thing I'll say is just be safe. We being an Iowa boy, I still laugh sometimes when they say, oh my God, we're gonna get 6 to 10 inches of snow and everything closes down for 4 days. Well, I get it with everything off the road and everything, but I still think it's kind of funny. I was out there for an hour and a half yesterday shoveling, and it was easy to tell who was shoveling a couple of days ago at City Hall because they were the two guys who were limping around complaining all day. But truly appreciate all your efforts. Everybody have a great weekend, and that's all I have for tonight. So if nobody else has anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Rucker. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting